Welcome, everyone. It's a Wrap with Rap. I am your host, Ron Rappaport. This podcast features people who have overcome life's challenges and adversities, people who can inspire and motivate, and people who can educate us on an assortment of topics. My guest today is Dr. Kylie Burton. Growing up, Dr. Burton could always be found on the volleyball court. After high school, she took her love for volleyball to Southern Utah University, where she was the team captain on their very first volleyball team. While at Southern Utah University, she took a nutrition class and fell in love with food and how food impacts our health. In 2012, following a study abroad to Japan, she graduated with her bachelor's degree in nutrition. Due to divine intervention, Dr. Burton was introduced to chiropractic and functional medicine the year following undergraduate school. She was mesmerized by the unique approach this type of medicine provided to patients and saw firsthand the impact it had on their health and lifestyle. Thus began her journey to becoming a chiropractor with a functional medicine specialty. In March of 2017, she graduated from the University of Western States with her doctorate of chiropractic, becoming a doctor and a mother in the same week. 6 months after completing her doctorate, she finished her certificate in functional medicine from the Functional Medicine University. Dr. Kylie has helped thousands of people with impossible health strategies find answers, healing, and hope, even after they have chased many doctors for answers and have been told their labs are normal. Dr. Kylie teaches practitioners as well how to incorporate a new way of reading labs with their patients. Together, chiropractic and functional medicine provide her powerful healing tools and a knowledgeable base that brings the future of medicine to her patients today. Welcome, Dr. Burton, to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ron.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Can you please...
I was just thinking as you were reading through that, I'm trying to figure out an about the author for my new book.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good about the author description right there.
Well, could you please tell our audience exactly what functional medicine is and who is searching for a functional medicine doctor? And I've asked some people just randomly if they've ever heard of it, and a lot of people haven't. So I think that'd be a good start.
Yeah. So functional medicine is this idea of finding what's causing our health concerns. And there's a big difference between you getting a diagnosis, say, for example, rheumatoid arthritis. Most of the Western medicine will tell you you have to take Humira, an injection every week for the rest of your life to manage your symptoms. Whereas my approach would be what causes or triggered the rheumatoid arthritis. And if we can figure out what triggered it, and calm the immune system down and rebuild the immune system, then you can get your life back. And you don't have to be on Humira or manage your symptoms for the rest of your life. So it's this idea of what's causing my health concerns and how do I overcome them?
Okay. Can you tell us about the divine intervention that introduced you to functional medicine?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys don't believe in God or whoever you believe in, whatever it is. I grew up in Western medicine. When you got sick, you went to the doctors and got an antibiotic. And that was just the way of life. I never knew what chiropractic was. I never knew what functional medicine was. In fact, my nutrition degree, my bachelor's program, was all about things like the food pyramid and how dairy is a really good source of calcium. And I basically have had to throw all of that out the window. But I got introduced to a chiropractor as I applied for his assistant job. I had no idea what it was. And he hired me on. In fact, his wife was very, very particular. Thank heavens that she insisted I was the one that he hired on, even though I had zero background, zero knowledge about any of it.
You must have impressed her a lot.
Yeah. And in fact, the first day I passed out in his office. The first day on the job, I am like in the treatment room with the patient and he's in there too. And we're doing this little procedure. And next thing I know, I'm on the ground and he's like, got me on one arm and the patient is laying on their face down. So they have no idea what's even going on while I'm passing out. Yeah. So he stuck with me. And then the more I learned, the more I was like, God, this just makes so much more sense. Like, why don't we all do medicine like this? So then I finally was like, you know what? I'm gonna be in your shoes. I'm gonna go back to school. I'm gonna get that piece of paper. And as a female, I can now help other females as I understand all the females, hormones, menopause. I mean, I don't understand menopause yet. I'm 32, but periods and things that we don't like to talk to men about.
Right.
Now we can say, this is what's going on. This is my cycle. This is my libido. This is, all that stuff that us women are lucky enough to deal with.
So you're known as the normal lab expert. Explain to us how you specialize in turning normal labs into answers, healing, and hope.
Yeah, think about this for the listeners out there who have gone to the doctors and they get their blood work taken and their blood work comes back normal.
Right.
And yet they think something is wrong with me. I know something's wrong with me. It's not because I'm a mom. It's not because I'm depressed. There's something that's not right. And the labs don't come up with the normal. Okay.
Right.
So what I do is I take their normal labs, the labs that they've already paid for, they've already donated time towards, and already donated blood towards. Let's take that because we already have it.
Right.
Let's utilize those labs for real answers. And what I do is I take this normal lab range and I make it smaller. And I say, okay, you might fit within this normal lab range. Thank heavens. Because if you don't, now you have a diagnosis where they can then put next to your name and give you a pill to manage things for. But within the optimal range, now if you fall outside of this optimal range, it's where I don't feel good, but I'm not bad enough to have a diagnosis yet.
Right.
So we transpose those normal labs, and a doctor by the name of Dr Kylie, who did a lot of research about 25 years ago. He's one of those guys that has 9 million letters next to his name. He came up with these ranges that we call the functional ranges. And based off of these functional ranges, we can determine some underlying components or puzzle pieces, like I refer to them as, that help us figure out what your puzzle looks like. And the more puzzle pieces we have, the more complete your puzzle. So the more lab tests, the more lab markers you have, the better. So people will often ask me, hey, Dr. Kylie, what lab tests do you recommend? So for all of you listening, get out your pieces of paper or get out the notepad in your phone and write these down, because these are just standard lab tests that your doctor can take, your insurance pays for, and they're really crucial pieces of your puzzle. However, with all lab tests, the lab test is only as good as the interpretation of it.
Right.
You can have all the lab tests in the world, but if somebody who's looking at them doesn't know what they mean, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. So here's your lab test.
Okay.
CBC with differential. It's a complete blood count with differential. Your doctor will know what differential means. Or even if you look on like Quest Labs and you want to order an at-home test kit, just make sure it's a CBC with differential. The second lab test is called the Complete Metabolic Panel, or CMP. And again, these are all standard lab tests that your insurance will cover. The third one is the lipid panel, cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL, LDL, all that stuff. Iron panel. And a lot of times doctors will fight about ordering this iron panel. Just check the dang box. Get your doctor to check the box, because it's big puzzle pieces that you need to figure out your healing journey, what's going to be required. So we have the CBC, B as in boy. We have the CMP, M as in mom. the lipid panel, and the iron panel.
Right.
Then we're going to add in a thyroid panel. And at a very minimum, you want the TSH, free T4, free T3, TPO, and TG antibodies. That's a very minimal thyroid panel. But get all 5 of those markers. And then take it one step farther and get a blood glucose and get a vitamin D.
All right.
And that in and of itself will determine a lot of your health puzzle. So you can stop relying on Dr. Google for answers.
Right. We can have Dr. Kylie figure it out.
Yeah. And if you
Now-
want, I will teach you how to read those labs. You can go download my freebie at drkylieburton.com. It's a free blood chem cheat guide. I'll teach you how to do it.
Oh, okay. Could you repeat that? What is it called? Dr.
drkylieburton.com.
Uh-huh.
And on that front page, there will be a link for even practitioners, for doctors, and there's a link for just general public where they can download the free cheat guide that will help them read their labs, even
Yeah.
when they've been told they're normal.
Right. Now, are all functional medicine doctors trained uniformly? And what types of doctors are going into functional medicine today?
Functional medicine and the alternative medicine world in general is very, very vast. I'm a big fan of the numbers because numbers never lie. A lot of times functional medicine practitioners will do muscle testing where we could get into it, but we don't need to, where they're just testing muscles and asking the body yes and no questions. So there's all different types of methods that are used. And there's all different types of training. The problem with alternative medicine in general is that there is no consistent training. And all of 95%, in fact, I don't know of any others, unless you're getting trained by someone like myself or have a mentor or somebody. But the standardized trainings are produced and put on by supplement companies. So that's where we're getting our education from. Now, our education is phenomenal. Some of the best education out there. Like, for example, in medical school, I figured out, I had a patient come in and she had everything normal. MRI scans, CT scans, blood work, it was all normal. But yet she was sitting on the table and had been in a migraine for 3 years.
Wow.
Migraine was debilitating her life to where she didn't want to live anymore. Nobody could figure out why. So it was like this moment where I said, okay, I have to look at things differently. I have to train myself differently. Otherwise, I'm going to get the same results as everybody else has in her past. Okay. So a lot of us have dove off into these seminars, these conferences, these trainings that the supplement companies have put on, but we've also paid really high, a lot of money for mentors. For myself, I was like 6 months out of school when I ran in, literally divine intervention again. A doctor who has been in this industry for 18 years now. He is very, very good at functional medicine and helping people with the ugliest backgrounds, ugliest health histories, overcome them. And he was introduced in my life. So he started working with me and he was my mentor. Now we're colleagues. We shoot each other questions back and forth all the time, but hiring somebody like that it needs to become more common in the functional medicine world. And it just will help everybody get on the same page.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why I started my mastermind. So I have a mastermind for doctors of all backgrounds and health coaches of all backgrounds, practitioners of all backgrounds. I have people in the mastermind who are wanting to leave Western medicine and get inside the functional medicine world, but it's so complex, they don't know where to start. And then I have people who are like right out of naturopathic school and right out of chiropractic school and right out of, they just got their health certification. health coaching certification. They're just trying to figure out what's a system? How can we take this complex idea and make it simple and get people results and make those results within an affordable budget? Because insurance doesn't pay for this stuff.
Yeah. Many doctor visits today are very rushed. What is the typical length of, say, a consultation with you or a functional medicine doctor in general?
Most of them are over an hour long.
Well, that sounds good.
Yeah, and it's the reason why we get results is because we're going to sit down and we're going to figure out what has led you to be in your current health situation. Things all the way back from, were you breastfed or were you bottle fed? Were you vaginally birthed or were you C-section? What did you eat growing up? Was it potatoes and eggs and meat? Like what was your journey throughout life like to get you to where you are today? We talk about big T traumas and little T traumas because they all affect, our childhood experiences, our experiences as a teenager. For example, I have one, she's like in her mid-20s and her doctor told her she needed to lose 80 pounds to be healthy. And if you were to look at her, then yeah, she needs to lose 80 pounds to, quote, be healthy. But she had so many negative experiences in high school with cheerleading girls. And so in her mind, skinny girls are brats. So why would she want to be one?
Right.
There's no way her body's going to lose weight when subconsciously
Yeah.
she doesn't want to be skinny, right? So it's just all these factors that come into play in our health, and not just saying, oh, well, you have a diagnosis, you need to take this pill forever and live that way. It's literally, let's help you unwind all of the onion layers that make up who you are so you can become healthy again, no matter what your health history is.
Right.
If you're willing to do the work.
Yeah. And you don't, you're just not going to get that kind of expertise or investigation into everybody right now with the run of the mill medical community.
Yeah. And they can't
they don't
when they're
have time.
having to bill insurance, it's a 5-minute appointment and you got, 2 seconds to go over labs. And half the time the problem is where doctors aren't trained to read the labs right. So they'll say, oh, well, these liver markers are off, but they'll never tell you unless you ask because they don't know what to do about it. So why would they point it out? And it's not their fault. It's the fault of the medical schooling system.
Yeah.
Like I said, we were educated. All of the stuff I do, I didn't learn in school.
Right.
I learned it outside of school. And that's basically, you could say the same thing about any career.
Sure. Absolutely.
We get this piece of paper. I always say it's an expensive piece of paper, but it allows me to do things that I need to do, like order and medical records and order labs and things like that. But it is just an expensive piece of paper. It's a matter of what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. It opens the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you work in conjunction with your patients' other healthcare providers, say for comorbid conditions, as far as prescribing supplements, et cetera? In other words, if somebody, say, is a diabetic and you put them on a supplement or whatever, would you be in conjunction with that other provider? How would that work?
So the way I do it's very different from most functional medicine is starting to transition over to my kind of concept. I don't work with patients one-on-one very much. It's a lot of group stuff, and I do a lot of membership things. So you come in, and the big thing is I just want people to stop relying on Google for answers. So how can I find that medium where they have a doctor they can ask questions to and help them out with their labs, but not pay a second mortgage for it? So it's just the ability to help more people. That being said, I am one member of their healthcare team.
Okay.
When people have a diagnosis like diabetes, I am not taking them off insulin or metformin, but I'm going to help their body get healthy. So when they go take those labs with their doctor the next time, the doctor sees that their labs are good, they can start helping them get off the medication and take that other route. So a lot of us do work in conjunction with primary care doctors. And I think we would all be better served if that was the case, because you're getting two different perspectives. And most of the people in my industry, like for chiropractors, I don't believe any state right now in the US has access to pharmaceutical rights. So by law, we cannot prescribe and we cannot take people off prescriptions.
Okay.
Now, naturopaths, a lot of naturopaths do have those rights if they actually went through a full curriculum, not just some type of certification online. And that's the big problem right now, is there are so many certifications out there that, I mean, you hear this all the time, where somebody was able to fix themselves, and now they want to go out and they want to teach the world how to fix themselves. So they did this little teeny health certification online, and we got people taking supplements out the wazoo. And these supplements, it's $1 billion industry. It's no different than pharmaceuticals.
Sure.
They want you to be on them forever.
Yeah.
That's not my philosophy.
No, you don't want
I'm
to
going
be
to
on
use
everything forever.
supplements to get the job done, to get the healing done. And then when you need some support, you can go grab it. I'm not going to say, oh, well, your progesterone is low, so you need to take this progesterone cream for the rest of your life, where there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And it's no different than giving Humira for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Let's try to touch on some medical conditions a lot of us deal with and the approach functional medicine takes with these conditions. So Dr. Kylie, we've been through so much the past 2 years, and anxiety and depression are pretty rampant.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You discussed the depression and infection connection with so much of this occurring in these trying times. Can you discuss that?
So let's dive into this normal lab thing, right? So when
Okay.
I gave this list of labs to take, the number one lab to take, I always say this lab is worth the price of gold. It is literally gold if it's read correctly. The CBC with differential. It's the number one standard blood test that all doctors take. So I can almost guarantee people have it. You have it. Okay. That top marker on that lab is called the white blood cell count, WBC. That marker can help you determine if your body is fighting some type of low-grade infection. Now, we've been told and inundated with a whole bunch of junk about a virus. You can believe what you want to believe. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm here to tell you that your body fights viruses all the time.
Yeah.
And it fights bacterial infections all the time, and fungal infections and parasites. And these are all infection types. It's just a matter of, is your body winning or not? And if your infections are winning, how far ahead in the game are they? Are they 100 meters ahead in a 400-meter race? Or are they 300 meters ahead in a 400-meter race, right? I come from a track family, so track is my
good analogy. That's a good analogy, yeah.
And I just barely created that off the top of my head, so I'm proud of that.
Well, that's pretty good.
So you can determine if your body's fighting these underlying infections with that white blood cell count, okay? So write this range down. It's very different from the normal range. This is the smaller ideal range.
Okay.
If your white blood cell count is less than 5 or greater than 8, your body's fighting an infection. What type? That's going to take a little bit more work. But the bottom line is there some stress happening on the inside of your body? And I will tell you, I've seen thousands of labs, and 90% of them have some type of infection that's destroying their ability to live, to function, and to enjoy life. But 2, it's inhibiting them from getting success with other therapies. whatever treatment and therapy you want to call it, doesn't matter. If we don't fix these underlying infections, nothing's going to resolve. So less than 5, greater than 8 infection. How does this affect anxiety and depression? Well, think about if your body is constantly fighting something, it's eventually just going to give up and say, okay, I'm done. I've been pushed over the limit. I'm going to sleep for the next 7 days. And if you want to call it depression, call it depression.
Okay.
The other thing can happen is where if your body is so tight and so overburdened and just constantly fighting, it doesn't take much to throw you into an anxiety attack. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. But if this white blood cell count is less than 5 or greater than 8, you're saying the body's fighting an infection. How do we treat something like that?
The next step is to figure out what type of infection is it. And remember, these are low grade infections. These are something that you're not going to go to your doctor and say, hey, I looked on my lab and this lady that I listened to on a podcast, she told me that I have a viral infection. I want you to take this test. It doesn't work like that.
Okay.
The tests are not going to come back positive unless you are 300 meters behind in a 400-meter race. So if you think about a bacterial infection, which often causes chronic diarrhea or chronic constipation, to the point where people will just take magnesium at night before bed so they can have a poop the next morning, basically. When it's not a magnesium deficiency, this is another bacterial infection problem that just has gone bypassed. So a bacterial infection, if you come up with that in the labs, don't run to your doctor and say, hey, I have this bacterial infection. Can you take E. coli, C. diff, Campylobacter, H. pylori, all of these infections that we have a name for, because it's not going to be positive unless you are 300 meters behind in a 400-meter race.
Yeah.
Unless you've gone to some third world country and you've been sitting on the toilet for 30 days straight. Like, that's not what our lab testings are designed for in Western medicine. They're designed for the, once you get bad enough, now it's positive, and now we know what to do as far as a treatment or a management is concerned. Where inside these normal labs, if you jump down from the white blood cell count, and you're getting some secrets here, Ron, you jump down to several markers and you see this neutrophil count. It's a percentage that you'll find. Make sure it's the percentage. This neutrophil percentage needs to be less than 60%. If it's greater than 60%, now you know you have a bacterial infection that your body is fighting, probably leading to some major digestive symptoms.
Okay.
Then the next marker below that is a marker called the lymphocytes. And if you look in your labs, you'll understand this. You'll be like, what the heck is this word? Neutrophils? Okay, it looks like it's right here. The next marker below it is lymphocytes. And remember, you got to have the percentage because there's 2 different types. Look at the percentage ones. If the lymphocytes are less than 30%, that's good. If they are over 30%, your body is fighting a low-grade virus, the #1 cause of chronic fatigue. And in the research, it's also the #1 cause of autoimmune diseases, like type 1 diabetes, because a low-grade virus is what attacks the pancreas, instigating type 1 diabetes.
Now, like the lymphocytes and the neutrophil percentages that you're throwing out here, what are the normal, like what, if we just did a lab test, what is the normal lab on that?
The normal lab range is going to differ depending on who ran the lab and what their ranges are.
Yeah.
And honestly, I haven't looked at normal lab ranges in so long, but I do know that I've had people, I had one this weekend, her neutrophil count was at 87%. 87%, and should be less than 60 in my world.
Yeah.
And the doctor said nothing about it.
Wow. I
So
mean, would that 87% show up as normal?
yeah, it came up as a, like, there was an H next to it on the labs,
Yeah.
but she showed up for cardiovascular concerns. What would an infection have anything to do with it?
Yeah.
Well, then they took some infection labs like flu and of course COVID and strep and a few of those things, but they didn't test anything for bacterial infections. And even if they did, it would have come back negative.
Okay.
She was having heart problems, not digestive complaints, even though she has digestive complaints too. She showed up in the ER for heart problems.
Yeah, and that's the thing about medicine today is you're dealing with doctors with specialties. So
Yeah.
if you're going to a cardiac doctor, they're really not concerned about if they see something probably that's not related to cardiac. They're just not going to bother with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I always laugh. You know, we have these specialties and it's great for people who want to take that route, take it. But if you're going to see your gastroenterologist, your GI doctor, and they only know the GI system,
Right.
our bodies are incredible. They're made up of multiple systems that
Right.
all work together.
Yeah.
And that's where the big problem is we have endocrinologists who do hormones, gastros who do GI, cardiologists, rheumatologists. I mean, we have all these ologists.
Yeah.
But then nobody's like looking at the big picture, like, wait a second.
Right.
Let's make this body whole
Yeah.
and healthy and get all systems working together.
Yeah. Would you please talk about the hidden causes of chronic fatigue our doctors may not know about, instead of just saying to some woman, for example, that you're a mom, you're just tired, that type of thing?
Yeah, and we covered a little bit about this with the virus.
Yeah.
So look down at that lymphocyte marker, and if it's above 30%, the number one cause of chronic fatigue is that low-grade virus.
All right. Got it.
Then the other one of the, if you're asking, well, what do we do? Once I know about that, what do I do? One of the best first steps is to make sure your immune system has what it needs to do its job. And one of those big time needs is vitamin D. It is the key. It is the master key to our immune system. And if you were to look in your vitamin D lab range, the normal lab range is between 32 and 100.
Right.
That is a big lab range. That's like trying to find your favorite restaurant somewhere between California and New York. Good luck.
Yeah.
Whereas if we can say, let's find your favorite restaurant in Ohio or in Utah, where I am, in Georgia, I make that much smaller to where if I fit within this range, now I'm going to feel better. So then the next step is let's eliminate this whole normal range and let's figure out where is the hot spot. Where is it in my labs that I know my immune system has enough vitamin D to do its job? And for me personally, what I've seen, that number is around 80.
Okay.
So within your labs, if your vitamin D status is around 80, now your immune system can do its job. If it is like less than 60, you're depleted.
Wow.
So vitamin D would be a great place to start to help your body combat these infections.
You have talked about creating a healing environment so we can go from survival mode to thriving mode. What are your 5 steps to getting our bodies into an ideal healing environment?
Let's keep going with the vitamin D, because that's the first step.
Okay.
Every single cell in our bodies needs vitamin D. Same thing with iron. So step number 1, no matter what your health history is, whether you have a diagnosis or you don't, if nobody knows what to do with you, you now know what to do with yourself. Step number 1, vitamin D and iron. Iron, the best source of it comes from liver, like eating liver meats, and red meats. So if you don't eat liver or red meat, definitely check your iron status, because oxygen The only way oxygen gets to our cells is with iron. Iron transports oxygen to all cells of our body. And if our cells are not getting oxygen, if your cells start to fall apart, say your liver cells start to fall apart, well, then what falls apart next? The liver organ. And then the full detox system. And it's just a cascading effect. So first step, vitamin D and iron. Second step, if you have any underlying infections, they got to go.
Okay.
Once those underlying infections are gone, now you can go in and balance out the hormones. Most people will say, well, I have hormone issues. Do you? Or is that just a result of your body struggling for a long time with a lack of ingredients that it needs? And two, your immune system is constantly battling. So of course you're exhausted. And of course you have no libido. No wonders why this 300 milligram of testosterone pellet in your butt every other month feels good. Of course it's going to feel good. But again, you're on it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. You
So
don't
it's
want
just
to do that.
pick your options. Okay. So the third step is once you have the cells replenished and refueled, now you can go in and remove the infections and then balance out the hormones. And with the hormones, fourth step is you ain't balancing any hormones unless your blood sugar is balanced.
That'd be
And if you have blood
step
sugar
4.
dipping up and down throughout the day, so say your blood glucose is 69 one test, and the next test it's 88, and the next test it's 74. Well, 2 of the 3 were too low in my world. So your blood sugar is just going like this, which is going to lead to hormone chaos. And then last but not least, do you have enough healthy fats in your body? Things like omegas and 3s and 6s.
Okay. The omegas said 3s and 6s.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want a breakdown of that, that is also in the blood work freebie. So I walk you through those 5 steps, and then I teach you that within each step, what labs to look for. So you know exactly what you need to do to become healthy.
I was going to ask you a question on thyroid, but we already covered that. What kinds of therapy are prescribed to your patients? Now, you said you don't do the prescription drugs, but the supplements, can you talk a little bit about that? What kind of supplements?
So we've talked about supplements a little bit as we in this industry of mine. One of my biggest pet peeves is people will come in or they start talking to me, and of course now everything is Zoom. I was doing Zoom before it was cool, but they show you this box or they open up the cupboard and it's just full of supplements, and they're taking this for that and this for that, and whatever Dr. Google says to take or their best friend suggests they take, they're just adding and adding and adding and adding and adding. The problem with the supplements is they're still treating symptoms. You take, you search Google for what causes migraines. Well, this supplement supposedly helps, so you give it a shot,
Yeah.
My philosophy is let's figure out what your body needs to heal using those normal labs. And then let's use the supplements to help your body do the job. And once it goes in and does the job and it heals and gets rid of all these underlying factors and replenishes all the systems, now you don't have to take all this stuff, all these supplements to survive. And that's what we're doing, is we're taking these supplements to literally just survive.
So these people are never getting off the supplements.
Yeah. And I literally had a conversation an hour ago with someone where she's like, I'm scared to get off the DIM for this hormone. Well, why are you taking it? Because so-and-so told me that it was going to help me lower the estrogen levels. Okay, well, it might. But the reason why you have high estrogen levels is because your liver is having a hard time getting estrogen out of your body. So take all the DIM in the world that you want. It's still a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Just a natural Band-Aid when you're really still missing the underlying piece. And that's the difference in the supplement world. I get so many times people come and they join my membership or they join a group or whatever, and they just feel like their naturopath or their chiropractor, and I am a chiropractor, or their alternative, whoever they're working with, is just throwing darts at the dartboard. Like they'll say, oh, well, I think it's my thyroid. Oh, it could be your thyroid. Let's try this thing. Is it any different?
Yeah.
I mean, we pride ourselves in root cause medicine. We're not any different. We're throwing out supplements to fix symptoms
Yeah.
and calling it natural. That's it. So it's really just find somebody who's going to dive in and really figure out what you need to get healthy so you can get off the plethora of supplements you're taking.
We know functional medicine is not covered under insurance, but can you tell our audience, is it a very expensive proposition?
It really depends on who you're working with and what your health history is. I know clinics who can charge anywhere from 10, 20, 30, even $40,000 for a treatment plan. There are people like myself who have a couple different options because I want to help people.
Right.
That's why I get into this business, as I want to help people. And I'm not going to charge them a second mortgage to do it. But in that case, in some cases, that needs to happen because there needs to be so much one-on-one support in some cases. Whereas in other cases, you just need somebody to help you read your labs. And once you really know what your labs say, then I give you the supplement recommendations and you're good to go. You got it. So for me, it's anywhere from like $99 a month to a $12,000 treatment plan. It's just a matter of what does your health mean to you? And as we've learned in the last 2 years, our health is worth the price of gold. There's really no number we can put to it.
Absolutely. Are more medical schools including functional medicine in their curriculum?
I wish. A lot of Western medicine trained doctors are catching wind of it in some way, shape, or form. And they're even showing up at the same conferences we've all been attending just to learn. And they're also getting sick and tired of the system. So they're wanting out. But it takes a lot of courage because, I mean, you're leaving a steady paycheck, a 9 to 5, sometimes 9 to 5, and you're going out into the entrepreneur world. So,
well, you answered my next question. What is your opinion of the state of the healthcare system today? But I think you kind of answered that.
I wish we could all be one happy family.
Yeah. I heard you're writing a book. Can you tell us about it?
I'm writing a book and I'm just about to send it off to the publisher. It's called What Your Normal Labs Really Tell You, where we get into this whole idea of what's the 5 steps and then uncovering more puzzle pieces inside those normal labs. So next time your doctor tells you that your labs are normal, yet you know something's off, you can say, thank you. And you take your labs home and you read them yourself.
That sounds great.
Hoping it comes out in March. We'll see though.
Oh, great. What were a couple of your most difficult cases that you've treated?
I don't think of people as difficult because I have a system. So I really don't care what people walk through the door with or what I visit with them on Zoom or how extensive their health history is or how many people they've seen. I'm always going to find out what the numbers say.
Okay.
And when I get the labs, I can figure out any health history. My favorite is autoimmune diseases because people think they just have to suffer with this stuff.
Yeah.
And when they learn that they don't, and there's a cause and there's a way to fix it.
Yeah.
That's where magic happens.
What would you say is your goal for your patients practicing functional medicine?
For patients, I want them to not need me. I want them to know how to read their labs. So every time they get labs in the next however many years of their life, they know what they say. You don't have to rely on somebody else. So my goal is for people to not need me. And then for practitioners, my goal is to help them have what I have.
Yeah.
A plan so that nobody who comes to them for help, they feel like they can help them, or they know somebody who they can refer them to. Just more confidence. I think more confidence in everybody, from the practitioner to the patient.
What excites you going forward the most?
Change.
I
mean, COVID has been harsh on a lot of people, but it's also brought some incredible opportunities. Like, for example, last week, I was recording a national TV segment in my basement, in my little office. So you can get on TV now and not have to go to the studio to do it.
Yeah.
The opportunities are pretty incredible once we start to see them.
Dr. Kylie, how can people contact you and find out more about what functional medicine can do to help them?
Come learn on the podcast. I have a podcast. It's called Beyond the Diagnosis with Dr. Kylie. And then go check out the website and get your freebies. That's a great place to start at drkylieburton.com. And even if you're a practitioner or have a medical background, there's one for you too.
Okay, that's drkylieburton.com.
Yep.
I'm going to list all that in the information in the podcast notes. Thank you so much, Dr. Kylie, for being with us and introducing us to this important topic. I wish you all the best going forward with your work. Comments and suggestions to improve the podcast are always welcome. You can email us at itsawrapwithrap@gmail.com. Our website is itsawrapwithrap.com. Drop your email there and you can get on our mailing list. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group, It's a Wrap with Rap, where we discuss these podcasts. We're on Instagram and It's a Wrap with Rap podcast, and all the episodes are on YouTube. It's a Wrap with Rap, the podcast uncut. Thanks everyone for listening. Please stay safe. And for now, it's a wrap.